Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Yasmin Khan, your host for the day from SME Venture, a leading media for SMBs, digital natives, startup, and enterprise IT. Today, we are presenting an exclusive webinar, Transform with SAP on IBM Cloud. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into question box in your GoToWebinar control panel. We will take all your questions and address them during the Q&A session. Business critical workloads like SAP requires high performance and security, all while delivering faster time to value for the business. Today, we are doing an integrating session on IBM Cloud for SAP and the journey to modernizing your ERP with IBM Cloud. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to Mr. Vibhuti Rath, Technical Architect, IBM Cloud, India and South Asia. Vibhuti leads a team of solution architects within IBM Cloud's sales team. His primary job is to help solve business problems of customers with IBM's technology solutions. He also works with channel partners and large GSIs to build IBM Cloud capability among them and helping them with various stages of client engagement. Over to you, Vibhuti.
Thank you, Yasmin. Very good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're having a good day ahead. Let me just quickly share my screen. Okay, now on to the topic today. What you're going to talk about is SAP certified infrastructures that IBM Public Cloud has. What are the different infrastructures we provide? What are the different solutions that we provide in terms of hosting SAP on IBM Cloud? As Jasmine mentioned, my name is Vibhuti. I work as a solution architect and lead a team of solution architects here in IBM Cloud sales team for India, South Asia. Now, when you talk about SAP and cloud, now we did a quick survey a couple of years back with F&G with a bunch of CIOs across the industry and across the globe, and we found 84% of the IT decision makers still say that cloud is essential to remain competitive in their industry and their journey that they are on. Now, when you talk about cloud, how it is relevant for SAP, as well as how SAP is growing adoption across multiple cloud providers and why it's growing across, that's a discussion that we're going to have, and how IBM Cloud can help across in terms of adopting SAP onto public cloud. And before we move, we have a quick poll that I would like you to respond to, and just to understand in terms of what understanding that you have and where exactly you are in terms of your SAP journey. Can you flash the poll, please? The quick poll is pretty straightforward. Are you currently running SAP HANA? If you're running, then say yes. If you're not running SAP HANA, you're still in ACC or you don't have an SAP environment, then choose no. And so it'll give a few seconds for the audience to respond to this particular question before we move on to the result and rest of our discussion. Okay, can you please flash the poll result as well? Okay, so what I see here in the poll result, at around 40% people are saying they have SAP and 60% they don't have SAP running, SAP HANA running in their environment. Now let's talk about why we're talking about SAP S/4HANA. Now, if you look at SAP, is on a very aggressive journey to move their ECC customers from ECC to S/4HANA, and there are a couple of reasons. The uh, primary reason, of course, is higher performance and better in-memory capability that S/4HANA brings in. Now, why we're talking about putting S/4HANA onto public cloud environment, whether it is uh, uh, public cloud, any of the hyperscaler or why IBM Cloud will talk about that. Now, when you talk about cloud, it's not just about hosting uh, the hardware on it, or you have a hardware renewal and you're trying to find out whether on-prem will give you better returns or cloud will give you better returns financially. Now, that's a discussion that we moved past. Now, what my customers that I've worked across and moving their SAP HANA to uh, IBM Cloud talking about is the kind of opportunity that cloud gives, not just SAP, but the subordinate application that are dependent on SAP and how they can adopt cloud native capabilities like whether it is AIML or whether it is data services or whether it is uh, cloud native services that they can adopt easily and make those SAP subordinate applications cloud ready so that they can have one single destination where they get all their technology benefit as well as peace of mind in terms of hosting their SAP. Now, let's talk about what exactly IBM Cloud is, why we are talking about IBM Cloud. Now, when you talk about IBM Cloud, it's a public cloud that we provide with infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and different IBM software as a service that are our own softwares that we provide as a service. Now, this constitutes three different platform services, and also we provide our data services and analytic services on top of our IBM Cloud, which are so to give you a couple of examples, our Watson services as well as our blockchain and our quantum services that we provide. We're in fact one of the only cloud providers. In fact, we're the only cloud provider that provide quantum on public cloud as a service, which is currently available on public cloud consumption model, and you can go ahead and uh, rent some qubits and start running your quantum workloads. Now, uh, why IBM Cloud? If you look at IBM Cloud customers, so Gartner did a study among our existing IBM Cloud customers. They found that most of our, in fact, 4.7 out of 5 customers are giving us ratings that they are pretty much satisfied with the cloud services that we provide. And that's why you would see 98% of the customers recommend us for hosting customer workloads on or critical workloads on IBM Cloud. And that's why we get highest rating in terms of not just security and compliance, also in terms of integration and deployment as well. So you see across all these parameters, whether it is recommending our cloud to other customers or security and compliance or integration deployment, uh, we have been getting continuously good rating across all these parameters. Now, what exactly IBM Cloud is? So we have based IBM Cloud on three different pillars. One is open innovation, then second one is security leadership, and the third one is enterprise grade. Now, when you talk about open innovation, it's uh, not just about open source, it's about keeping a platform open. That means if a customer wants to adopt a particular platform, they should be able to adopt that particular platform irrespective of the cloud they choose. So when we say that, what have we done in terms of keeping that platform open? We don't force a particular hypervisor platform. We don't force a particular uh, IBM native platform to our customer. They can choose their own platform, whether it is open source Kubernetes or Red Hat OpenShift in terms of containers, whether it is choosing their own hypervisor, whether be it VMware or be it KVM, or be it Hyper-V, or be it Citrix Zen. They can choose their own hypervisor as well. And also we have adopted a whole lot of open source integrations and open source services across our cloud. If you look at our database as a service, it's a hugely open source heavy databases. You name any of the open source databases, whether it is uh, PostgreSQL or MySQL, MongoDB, Redis, uh, you name these databases and it's available as a service. Similarly, we also put a lot of emphasis in keeping the platform secure and giving the best possible security option available to the customers. So that's why we have invested heavily on encryption mechanism that's at the level of FIPS 142 level 4, which is the highest standard of encryption available by a public service cloud service provider. The best our competition offer is level 3, whereas we are at level 4 already. And similarly, we also provide uh, different deployment models so that you can keep your security framework common, whether it is your public cloud or edge cloud or on-prem. And also we provide you control up to the level that at any point of time, IBM Cloud or IBM Cloud members will not be able to see your data unless and until you allow them to have access to your data. So that's the kind of security and trust we maintain, and we try to maintain that. Similarly, the third pillar that we talk about here is enterprise grade, because our cloud has been designed natively to cater to enterprise client. When you say enterprise client, there's the clients or customer that run workloads like SAP, there's customers that run workloads like VMware or huge cloud native workloads, whether it is Red Hat OpenShift or whether it is IBM native platform like IBM Power, IBM AX, or IBM Z. So those mission critical workloads are uh, the kind of workloads for which our cloud is uh, natively designed, and our cloud is uh, natively uh, placed across to cater to those kind of workloads. And that's why you would see the kind of compute option that we provide at the broadest. We not just limit you onto simple plain virtual service. We provide you a huge number of platform in terms of compute options, whether it is virtual server, whether it is bare metal server, whether it is power platform and AX servers. You name the hardware platform, because if you are an enterprise customer, you'd be running a whole lot of workloads that are different uh, platform and different uh, technologies, and those might not be fixed into a particular virtual server mechanism. It might need a different set of hardwares or platform that you'd need to run. And that's why I provide all those platforms possible, be it x86 or Power or virtual server or bare metal servers. Now, coming back to SLA, we provide 99.99% SLA if you're running your workloads into a multi-zone region. When you say multi-zone region, it's in multi-availability zone that we offer in a particular region of a data center, whether it is uh, London, Tokyo, any multi-zone you take, you will find at least 3 data centers in that availability zone. And we provide 99.9% SLA if you're running it in a single zone data center. When you say single zone data center region, it's just a standalone data center where you would get 3 nines of SLA. Now, another huge advantage of IBM Cloud that we have is no cost bandwidth between regions. Now, if you say, for example, you're running your recipe in DC, say in London, and DR in, let's say, Paris. Now, when you do a replication of HANA from London to Paris, if you take other cloud providers, they would charge you for that data replication. They would charge you for that ingress of data that happens between these two data centers. Whereas in our case, if you're transferring data between our data center, be it anywhere in the world, whether it is in Chennai or Singapore or London or Tokyo or Washington, any of the data center that you take, if you are transferring data within our data center, we don't charge you for that. That bandwidth is completely free of cost, and which is where our customers save a lot in terms of uh, bandwidth money, particularly the enterprise customers where they have multiple clusters of workloads running across multiple countries and multiple regions. Now, similarly, another huge benefit that you would get is SLA payouts. If you have 60 minutes downtime per monthly, we give you 25% of credit as SLA payouts, uh, and that's highest in comparison to the market that you would see in uh, among the public cloud providers. The reason we are able to do that is we have huge uh, advantage when it comes to availability. In the past, we haven't seen such downtime that where we have to pay out the customer of that level of SLA breach, and that's the reason why we're confident that we'll never be able to breach that 60 minutes uh, downtime, so that we have to pay 25% to our customer. And that track record and that availability performance across past few years helps us to commit that level of SLA payout for a 60-minute downtime in a month. And the other two advantages that you'll get particular to OutCloud is if you're taking a bare metal server, you will be getting visibility up to the traceable serial number, which means if I take a bare metal, I can see the serial number of that bare metal as well, which helps particularly the regulated customers in a huge way in terms of their audit uh, and compliance mechanism. So that's a huge benefit that they get. We also have the first financial services ready public cloud in the world. You must have seen that across multiple platforms that we have built a cloud that is ready for financial services. When you say ready for financial services, uh, it is already in compliance with the compliances that financial services market needs, so that financial services workloads can be onboarded easily without even uh, looking at what basic compliances are met or not. So those are the kind of advantage that you'd get with IBM Cloud. Now, talking about the compliance, IBM Cloud compliances we maintain. Here is a list of compliances that we maintain. It's not all. There are this is a developing list. We keep on adding a whole lot of compliances that we do across the globe to this list. This is just uh, an overview of the global compliances that we have been maintaining. Now we will go to another poll. If you could have the poll flashed here as well. It's a very simple question, which is where exactly you're running your SAP right now. Are you running your SAP in an on-premise environment, or you're running in a private cloud environment? And that private cloud could be your own private cloud, or could be a hosting provider where you have rented some rack space or rented some server space to run your SAP workloads, or you're already running your SAP in any of the public cloud, be it IBM Cloud or AWS or Azure or any other public cloud where you're running your SAP. I'd give a quick 15 seconds to respond to this poll question before we move on to our discussion and discuss about the poll results. Okay, can you have the poll result, please? Okay, so I see almost 70% uh, of you have responded that you're running your SAP on premises. Then close to 15% on private cloud and 20% on public cloud. Now, uh, that's a pattern that we see across uh, the industry. There are still a lot of workloads and a lot of customers who haven't moved their SAP workloads to public cloud. Now, why would run SAP on IBM Cloud? We spoke about what benefits that IBM Cloud provides. Now, why would run SAP on IBM Cloud? What are the benefits that by you'd get by running SAP on IBM Cloud? Now, when you talk about SAP, now, and to give you a background in terms of what you have done with SAP, uh, when it comes to running SAP on public cloud, uh, customers have three different vendors in mind when they particularly choose between these three different vendors, and IBM Cloud is one of those top three vendors. And the reason why we get chosen is what we're going to discuss because of a varied kind of platform that we provide to the customers, because of a varied set of technologies and options that we provide to the customer in comparison to what a competition offer. Now, we did a quick uh, survey, and the survey results here tell that 67% of uh, the large customer that we interacted and surveyed prefer IBM Cloud to run their SAP business applications. And why is that? We're going to talk about that in detail. Now, that's almost 7 out of 10 customers preferring to run SAP business applications on IBM Cloud. Now, similarly, if you look at SAP HANA, almost 46% of customers prefer to run SAP HANA on IBM Cloud. And that's huge because we just looked at the survey that 67% of cust- uh, the customers haven't really moved their SAP to cloud. They're still running on-prem. And when you uh, look at that number, it's almost half of the customers are preferring IBM Cloud to uh, choose their HANA workloads to run on them. Now, similarly, if you look at how many set of customers willing to host S/4HANA uh, on IBM Cloud, that's 53%. And this is an open-ended survey that we did with customer. Now, similarly, what exactly customers benefit by running SAP on IBM Cloud, or matter of fact, any other public cloud? It's the level of performance that they can get. Because if you run SAP in a traditional data center, whether it is on premises or whether it is a private cloud data center, or you're running in any of the hosting provider, you are logged into a hardware refresh cycle where if you buy a particular hardware, you are invested in that particular hardware for uh, few time, whether it is 5 years or 3 years. Till that particular time, you are logged into that hardware, which means you are not tapping into the potential of the innovation that are happening across these 3 different years or 5 years in computing and memory industry, as well as you're not able to adopt any other uh, new age technology adoption that are coming into the picture. Also, you are getting stuck into that particular hardware itself, whether that hardware is giving you return, whether that hardware is keeping in time with the recent technologies, you are getting stuck there. And that's what the advantage of cloud gives. When we compare IBM Cloud to other clouds, we have the most powerful SAP certified servers available in the cloud today. You compare that to any other cloud provider. If you take a particular SAP server, it's a study, it's a benchmark that SAP did across cloud providers in terms of the SAP HANA servers these cloud providers provide. We we proved that we are 65% more powerful than SAP certified servers available with our competition. Now, how did we achieve that? It's because of kind of platform options that we give to the customer. Because we provide bare metal servers running your SAP, we provide virtual servers which are based on IBM Power technology to provide USAP HANA hosting, and we also provide the highest SAP benchmark, which is SAP's count for any of the cloud infrastructure services available across the globe. Now, let me quickly uh, flash the benchmark that we did with SAP. In fact, SAP did this benchmarking across all cloud providers. So if you look at the top 5 performing uh, servers available, SAP certified servers available uh, in the cloud, whether it is IBM or AWS or Azure or Google, take any of these platform. Across all these platform, the most powerful servers is available with us. Now, not just the most powerful server, if you take the top 5 most powerful servers available across these cloud providers, 4 out of those 5 are from IBM Cloud itself. Now, the first one you see is the IBM Power Virtual Servers called E980 model that gives 900,000 SAPs count in terms of in comparison to the second one, which is again another IBM 6 TB HANA appliance that we have. It gives second highest SAPs performance. Similarly, if you take the fourth one, it's another 3 TB HANA appliance, and the fifth one is another 1.5 TB HANA appliance. These are all apart from the first one, which is in a power IBM Power System Virtual Server. The other three are IBM SAP certified bare metal servers on IBM Cloud. So these are all x86 servers. So if you see the kind of performance that we provide, that is incomparable to any of the competition that we have. And the reason why we are able to do that is because of the kind of platform that we provide, whether it is our Power Virtual servers, whether it is our bare metal servers, and whether it is our virtual servers that we provide for running SAP. Now, similarly, if you look at the the kind of options that we provide, it's not just that we provide the highest performing SAP server. We also provide a varied sort of options to our customer in terms of not just compute but storage as well. So if you look at, we provide more than 20 petabytes of storage uh, to run your SAP HANA workloads. We provide more than 1 petabyte of memory for running your SAP workloads, which means you can go up to 1 petabytes of memory in a particular uh, bare metal server or a Power Virtual server. And if you look at the number of customer that we have right now, is more than 125 HANA customers today, more than 350 ECC customers today, which who which we are running right now uh, on IBM Cloud Platform. Similarly, we also have clients, highest number of clients in the enterprise segment as well, which is uh, mostly the clients are with more than 10,000 employees running large SAP uh, HANA databases. You can see you can scale up to 12 TB and you can scale out up to 31 TB of HANA databases. That's the best that you can get in a cloud service provider uh, at the moment. Uh, if you look at SAP HANA. Now, staying with IBM Public Cloud uh, benefits. Now, when you talk about SAP, it's not just SAP that you get with IBM Public Cloud. You get access to a whole lot of other services. You can see there are more than 190 services available on IBM Public Cloud that will be sitting next to your SAP environment, whether it is artificial intelligence or analytics. Services that we provide, whether it is cloud native services of containers or cloud native services of CI/CD pipelines or tool chains, or whether it is our IoT platform or blockchain platform, or whether it is our database as a service platform. So all these are available next to your SAP environment, and you can use them off the shelf and modernize your SAP dependent application and other applications uh, on public cloud as well. Now, what are the different options that we provide when it comes to hosting your SAP platform? We spoke about highest performing SAP hardware that we provide, whether it is a Power Virtual Server or whether it is an x86 server. Now, if you look at those particular platform, uh, we have divided these particular platform into three different ones. One is an Intel bare metal. When you say an Intel bare metal, it's Intel x86 server certified by SAP for HANA that we provide on either monthly subscription basis or 1 year or 3 year reserve instance basis. And you also get an option to add Intel Optane persistent memory onto these bare metals, which means you can take bare metal with plain simple vanilla SSDs to run your SAP HANA, or you can add Intel Optane DC persistent memory to these bare metals, which means you get access to a raw power and raw computing performance of bare metals with our SAP certified Intel bare metal servers. The second option that we provide is running VMware, which is running a private virtual data center, running a VMware software-defined data center that's been certified by SAP to run SAP on top of it. Because a lot of customers have already deployed SAP on VMware and they want to keep the same set of tools, they want to keep the same set of operations, IT operation, and they want to keep the same set of monitoring that they have developed with VMware and on top of VMware software-defined data center. And for them, those set of customers, you also give an option to choose that uh, SAP to run on top of a VMware software-defined data center. That is the second option that we provide. The third option that we provide is running SAP in a virtual machine. Now, when it comes to virtual machines, there are two different virtual machines that we provide to run SAP. One is an x86 virtual machine, which is a simple uh, virtual machine that runs in a VPC uh, environment in public cloud and runs SAP on top of it. And then second option is IBM's own Power Platform, which is IBM Power Virtual Servers that is certified to run SAP on top of it. And this is the fifth platform option that we provide. So these are the three different uh, options in terms of platform to choose from we provide to the customer. It's not just one limited to a virtual server. We provide a variety of platform for our customers to choose from, whether it is bare metal, whether it is uh, VMware, software-defined data center, or whether it is to choose from a Power Virtual Machine or an x86 virtual machine. Now, how the construct happens, if you look at, if you choose a bare metal server, you get get to choose a bare metal server with the memory option to choose from, whether it is starting from 256 GB, you can go up to 12 TB or 16 TB in some data center uh, in terms of memory, SAP certified appliances. And you also get an option to add Intel Optane DC persistent memory on top of it in few data centers where we have huge SAP presence. Similarly, if you choose to run it in the software-defined data center, you would get VMware software-defined data center off the shelf, which means uh, you would get in SAP certified infrastructure as a service, which are nothing but Intel bare metal servers. On top of it, there would be the hypervisor layer, which is the VMware hypervisor, vSphere or vSphere 6.5 or 7.0, depending on which version you choose. And then on top of that, there is the network virtualization layer, which is VMware NSX, and then there is a network bridge layer, which is VMware HCX, which is an optional one, depending on whether you want to migrate from on-prem or not. And then on top of that, the very familiar uh, vCenter for management. You can manage using that vCenter. You can manage your uh, software-defined data center and all the bare metal server that are behind it. And also, we provide vMotion transition if you are choosing to migrate certain VMs from on-prem. And of course, on top of that, you build your own application stack, whether it is Microsoft based or SAP based or Red Hat based. It is up to the customer to decide what kind of platform they want to choose from, SUV being one of them. And these are all certified to run SAP on top of the VMware software-defined data center. Now, if you go to the virtual machine part, uh, here the management of hypervisor is with IBM Cloud. So we manage up to the hypervisor and provide you the uh, operating system, whether it is SUSE or Red Hat operating system that you choose from. Similarly, with Power Virtual Server, you can choose from AIX or SUSE, where you want to run your own SUSE on top of the Power platform. So if you look at these three different options that we provide. In the first one, we manage up to the infrastructure level, which is the bare metal server we manage. Anything running on top is managed by the customer. And if it is the VMware software-defined data center option, we manage up to the uh, NSX and vCenter layer, which means till that uh, we managed part of it. The reason why I say part of it is uh, uh, the customer would get access to the hypervisor level as well. So customer can uh, do certain configuration if they want to do, which most of the customers prefer to have control with them for hypervisor layer as well. So even though we manage it in terms of patching and updating, the customer still can have control and uh, done and configure their VMware management and VMware resources by their own. Now, so these are the three different options. The last option, of course, where if you choose a virtual server, the up to the hypervisor is managed by IBM Cloud, and is the OS that we provide and customers is responsible for managing that. Now, a few case studies that I want to highlight here that are specific to SAP, and these are a few of the logos, large logos that we did migration for SAP HANA that I've put here, which are running on IBM Cloud. Uh, I can also go to IBM Cloud case studies, or just simple search IBM case studies for HANA on Cloud on Google. You'll be able to get almost 300 plus public case studies that are available on SAP HANA on IBM Cloud, and get into those details. Now, when you talk about SAP on IBM Cloud, few things I want to discuss here. Now, when you deploy SAP, there are certain things that comes under IBM scope, and there are certain things that doesn't come under IBM scope. Now, it depends on what kind of platform you choose. If you choose to run SAP HANA on a bare metal, IBM scope is limited to the SAP certified uh, bare metal that you would choosing to run on, which means we'll manage the bare metal. Any issues with the bare metal, whether it is some hardware failure, some storage failure, or whether it is memory failure or some parts failure, it's our responsibility to replace them, and that's where you get that SLA to uh, for hardware replacement as well as for any fault uh, tolerance mechanism. Now that's at the infrastructure level. What customers uh, does customers manages the entire SAP environment, whether it is provisioning the SAP on top of that OS. Let's say, for example, if I order a SAP certified appliance, let's say I want to order an SAP certified 1.5 TB appliance. On top of that, the SAP deployment is customer's responsibility. Provisioning SAP is customer's responsibility. The administration of bases is also customer's responsibility, as well as migration and implementation of SAP components is also customer responsibility. IBM is only limited to the managing the infrastructure and maintaining the infrastructure for that particular environment. And this changes if you are choosing a VMware software-defined data center, where our responsibility is up to the VMware level. On top of that, customer deploys the OS. Uh, so unlike an SAP certified bare metal appliance, where the OS comes built in. You can choose, customer can choose whether they want the bare metal with the OS or without an OS. If you choose to uh, order it with an OS, so whether it is SUSE or Red Hat, it comes deployed on top of it. And but if it is a VMware software-defined data center, you would need to bring your own OS and deploy that VMware VM on top of that, which becomes a customer responsibility. So that's the different uh, deployment mechanism that we provide with SAP on IBM Cloud. So to quickly summarize what we discussed about what IBM Cloud offers in terms of SAP, why IBM Cloud and why customers are choosing to run SAP on IBM Cloud, uh, and how we have become the highest performing, best performing uh, uh, SAP uh, bare metal servers and SAP platform available on cloud. So uh, we have uh, we have a public cloud that offers you the base security infrastructure and as well as enterprise ready, and it is not just limited to one particular platform. It is an open platform where you can choose your own, whether it is an open source platform or whether it is an OEM platform, whether it is a VMware platform. You can choose your own platform. And similarly, we have a varied SAP option that we provide, whether it is a bare metal server or a virtual server or a powered server or a VMware server that customers can choose from. They're not uh, limited to one particular choice, uh, unlike others. And then why customer choose? The customer choose because of this uh, level of flexibility that we provide and level of options that we provide, and also the highest performance that we provide when it comes to SAPS count for SAP platforms. Now, with that, we would get into Q&A, whether you have any questions that you want to discuss. Let me just quickly go into that and see if we have any questions.
Okay. Vibhuti, thank you for such an engaging presentation. So allow me for taking the Q&A session. There are a couple of questions
Mhm,
our attendees have. So moving to our first question, our attendee would like to know what benefit would they get
mhm,
by running SAP on cloud?
mhm. Yeah, so a couple of benefits that I want to highlight that though there are many benefits of running SAP on IBM Cloud, to highlight two benefits is one is the flexibility that the customer gets in terms of choosing the platform. So unlike in an on-prem environment where they have to get locked into a particular configuration on day one and they have to continue that for a certain time because they have already made an investment. Which is a capex investment the customer does, whereas in terms of cloud, they don't lock into a particular investment. They can choose choose an op. They also get an opex model, and also they get to choose the kind of platform they want. Whether it is they can start a small configuration and grow uh, as and when it is needed, rather than uh, investing in a huge amount of hardware that they might not need from day one. So these are the two different benefits. They can get uh, to choose their own hardware and start small and get into a commercial model where they're spending money uh, for the usage rather than doing a lot of capex investment at the start of the contract period or the start of the deployment.
Okay, thanks, Vibhuti. I hope our attendees got their answer. Vibhuti, there's one more question from our attendee. They're asking, what hidden costs are involved in running SAP on cloud?
Yeah, that's a very good question in terms of the hidden costs. So people often keep on asking me about this in terms of, uh, and this is one of the few observation customers has when moving to cloud. because they're not aware of the hidden costs that are involved moving to cloud, and also they get a bill shock at end of the month or end of the quarter, which they never planned for it or no one even told them about it. Now, one of the biggest bill shock that they get, it's in terms of bandwidths, because when it comes to cloud, uh, the entire bandwidth is metered. So anything that you download, anything that uh, access from the cloud gets metered, and you get a bill for it, and that is where a hidden cost comes into the picture. The second thing is skills. When it comes to cloud, a lot of people are not skilled enough to use cloud, and that's where they don't get uh, the pay-per-use model, and they provision certain resources that they don't even need it and get a bill shock. The second one is can be controlled, but the first one is something that you can't control, because you can't really have users control what they can download or access, what they cannot. If you have given access to certain resources, they'll keep on accessing n number of times, and you'll get a bandwidth bill end of the month. And to cater to such scenarios, what we have done in IBM Cloud is we have a whole lot of options available to customers to control their bandwidth, and we also give a lot of free bandwidth to our customers, uh, depending on the kind of platform they choose, so that they don't get a bill shock at the end of the month. So that's the few challenges and observation that I see with our customers.
Okay, so Vibhuti, everyone is aware that IBM recently announced partnership with SAP. So the last question of this session is regarding to this only. Can you explain them what kind of partnership is that?
Sure. So that's most of the question, no, most of the customers are asking that question these days in terms of the SAP announcement or IBM joint announcement made with SAP in terms of RISE with SAP. So what RISE with SAP does is uh, it brings in SAP uh, as a service option on public cloud. And what we have done with SAP is we have uh, done a partnership where IBM is the only premium cloud provider that uh, can provide RISE with SAP to our customers, where the entire landscape, starting from infrastructure level till the SAP level, is managed by end-to-end IBM, and we are the only provider who uh, are doing that and who have done that with SAP to manage the end-to-end infrastructure to SAP landscape. And that's the announcement that you would have seen across uh, the news media and different social media channels, and that's why it's a huge success story for us, because we are the only vendor, we are the only cloud providers that have been able to do that with the premium partnerships level with SAP.
Okay, that's great. So with this, we reach to the conclusion of this exclusive webinar. So let me summarize it. Customer needs vary and different customers are at different points in their cloud journey. In several cases, IT organizations are in multiple phases at the same time, moving certain applications directly into public cloud while building a new next generation applications on cloud native technologies. Addressing these needs requires flexibility in the core offering as well as a rich and growing set of technologies on public cloud platform, such as analytics, AI, and cognitive services and cloud native platforms. IBM Cloud has been designed keeping this variance of enterprise IT needs as a key consideration to meet customers' needs where they are, while enabling a comprehensive path to public cloud adoption, new technologies, and transformation. So, Vibhuti, once again, thank you for presenting some great insights and analysis. It was great to host you.
Thank you, Yasmin. And any question, any queries that the participants have, or any uh, question that they have, they can feel free to reach me across over my email address or over LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to answer them, and I'll happy to uh, provide my guidance to them. Thank you.
Before we leave, it's a humble request to everyone out there. Once you leave today's webinar, you will receive a survey on the presentation. And we would appreciate if you would complete that and provide your valuable feedback. You will also receive a follow-up mail within 24 to 48 hours. So on behalf of SME Venture, IBM, and our presenter, thanking you all for joining us today. This is your host, Yasmin Khan, signing out. Have a great day.